It's time to talk about some Detroit Lions news on this Friday, and we got a lot to cover. Thank you as we're getting closer to training camp. Real news is coming out, and I tell you what, as a content creator, it's a good thing. So in this video, we're going to go over the latest Lions news and rumors, talking about that an NFC North team is trying to poach a former Lions player. We've heard this one before, but we're going to go over it. Why hasn't Tate Ratlege signed his contract to get back on the team? We will go through that. One player in the Lions running back room is being considering, at least an article talking about not being on the Lions roster after the training camps. We'll get into that. Reporting shedding light on the Frank Ragnow retirement, and we all the news. What I'm going to tell you here is exactly what we want to talk about. So anyone that doubts Frank Ragnow's integrity, so we're going to get into that one. And then a third round pick having a little bit, a former third round pick having a little bit of issues. But before we get into today's video, if you're a fan of the Detroit Lions, if you could do me a favor and take a bat and hit me in my lower back, that would be great. If you can't do that, hitting that like button would really help out. One of the two. With that said, let's get into these Lions news. So, again, my back is still back and jacked, so we're going to go ahead and do like we have been doing until I can sit down, and we're going to start here. Peter Schrager names Jared Goff the most important player in the NFC, and don't need to read the article to tell you why I kind of agree with this. Why do I agree with this? Well, considering the fact of all the player movement on the Lions offensive line, the coordinator shuffle with Ben Johnson, the inability to win the Super Bowl last 2 years, get to a Super Bowl last 2 years, putting Jared Goff as an important player in the NFC. With all those player pieces gone, he can make or break this team. If he has a great year, well, guess what? Not having Ben Johnson's not going to be the biggest deal. We mixed up on the offensive line. If he can play even better, right, then that should be good to go from that aspect. So I totally get it. Jared Goff has got to have a good year. And I tell you what, if he does have a good year, he's gonna remove all the doubt, at least from people that doubted potentially that he is a good quarterback, right? Because everyone says, oh, it was all about Ben Johnson and everything in sequence. So this year, you could at least put that narrative to bed, or it could resurrect that narrative fully. So let me know, what do you guys think? Do you think that Jared Goff is going to have an amazing year? Y for yes and for no. Next article here is something that I've been talking about on my channel because I've known this for a while. And this is what Colton Pounce already said, but if you've been listening to me, I've been told this 6 months ago. It says, it feels like now or never for Martin. Pouncey wrote, the former third-round pick has yet to make an impact in the NFL and has passed up practice squad players last year's son and depth was unthin. The Lions have conversation with Martin about expectations. So this is nothing he doesn't already know. This is very, very well known. I've known about this, and if I've known about this, pretty much everybody's known about this. And I feel like it's over for Martin. He knows his expectations. I don't think he's going to be making the 53-man roster this year. Could he be a practice squad guy? Yeah, but you're talking about the 53. I don't see that being the case. Martin is just not developed. There's a reason why we sitting around. We got Tyleik Williams. We picked up Roy Lopez. There's a reason why they brought back Levi and Uzurike in a 5-year deal. They don't trust Broderic Martin. That's why they got these players back under contract. And the Lions are going to be going in a different direction unless he does something absolutely crazy. And he comes in here and he's in great shape and he's just made such a big transition. Other than that, I don't see him being on this team no more. And a lot of people, again, they give grief about Hendon Hooker, third-round pick. But remember, Hendon Hooker wasn't a trade up. That was a Broderic Martin. But I'm not mad. And I'm going to tell you right now, folks, Broderic Martin doesn't look like he's going to work out. Are you mad about it? No, I'm not mad. You're not going to be able to get every draft pick, even ones that you trade up for. Brad Holmes has done phenomenal in the draft. He's not going to hit a grand slam every freaking draft. It's just not going to happen. Talent evaluators, they find the talent. They scout the talent, the personality, everything. All right, that's as much as they can do. You can't get in the mind of the player. You can't literally jump in the brain of the guy. Coaches, they try to get the best out of the players once they're on the team. We have seen now with this organization, this regime, that we can draft and our coaches can coach the players up past expectations. So if you have a player that is still not developing at this point, I do not blame it on the coaching staff. I do not blame it on the general manager. I blame it on the player. And it's just not working out. You know, it's one of those things where maybe it just didn't work out. You know, it's not everyone's going to be a good draft pick. Not everyone's going to come out there and be in St. Brown. Okay, it's not realistic. You know, if every player came out like that, then every NFL team would be hitting jackpots every single draft, all of that lovely stuff. So I'm not upset that he's bust. It's not only a third-round pick a bust out, but I'm not even upset at it, and I don't think anybody else should be. I don't think we should be nitpicking, because if we're gonna nitpick all bad, we better talk about the good too, because there's a lot of good there. So I hope he does well. I don't believe it's going to be the case. Do you guys think he's going to make the 53-man roster? Y for yes and for no. Let's get into this next one. It's talking about the tough backfield in the Lions for running backs, and they believe that one of these running backs is not going to be on the team this year. He believes that it's going to be, obviously, you have Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, and Sione Vaki. One man he has out on here is Craig Reynolds, who's been with the team for some time. And he's believing that some individuals, you know, in the running back room that we picked up this offseason could take that spot. He says Vaki, a fourth-round pick for the Lions a year ago, suited up 16 games as a rookie, Churko wrote, and he contributed 14 rushing yards, 37 reception yards, and 6 carries and 3 catches, respectively. He also added 8 tackles, forced fumbles, 3 to 10 special team snaps. Reynolds has become a favorite for the team, coaching staff, blah, blah, blah. Says as for, he's talking about other players that could take it as Robichaud. But he believes that this could be the end of Craig Reynolds. No, I don't think it's going to be the end of Craig Reynolds this year. Could he potentially not make the roster? It's possible if one of these younger players do better. Like, the Lions don't play around, right? Like, if you got a younger guy that's coming up in the wings, they will most definitely go that route. But I don't think that's going to be the case. I do think Craig Reynolds is going to be on this team this year. And because he is, dude, the Lions running back room is ridiculous, man. And Craig Reynolds has been good for his number 3 role. And just because you got Sione Vaki, who, again, he can play special teams, he can play different parts of the – he's a different running back than Craig Reynolds. Craig Reynolds is not the same type of running back as Sione Vaki. I would rather put Sione Vaki in more of the Jahmyr Gibbs group and then more Craig Reynolds into the David Montgomery. They're different running backs. So that's why I get what they're saying here, and I do agree with Sione Vaki. They like him. That's 100% true, but I don't know if that necessarily mean that's going to be the end of Craig Reynolds because they're kind of 2 different running backs. But if another one comes in here and outperforms and is younger, that's what it's all about. That is the whole point of having a general manager find the talent, is that. That's the whole point. Let's get into the next one here. It says, all right, Lions news here. This is the communication of Frank Ragnow in retirement. So there's been speculation, this is out of the blue. And I never believe that. Frank Ragnow's integrity. Frank Ragnow is a man of integrity. He's just a good human being. Okay. Do you think he would not say anything? Absolutely not. So I wanted to do this article to show you guys that the Lions organization knew about the Frank Ragnow situation. Yes, they were. There was in good communication between Frank Ragnow and the Lions in recent weeks, and the team knew the retirement consideration was real. So they knew. They didn't know if it was going to happen this year, but they knew that he was really considering this. We've known this for years that he's considering it because of his injuries. And, of course, the Lions organization knew about it. Of course, they were talking about it. They've probably been talking about it for a couple years. And so anybody that's ripping on Frank Ragnow, I don't think that's cool. I think Frank Ragnow, he did everything right. He's got a family he's got to think about. And anybody that has physical ailments, they're worried about the future of their body. And that's so smart. It is smart. You got to make preparations when you're young so you're not old and throwing your back out every day because that stuff sucks. It does suck. Let's get to the next one here. It says, CBS Sports second-round pick. Tate Ratlege has not signed the deal. Let's talk about the reasons why he's signed. I'm not even going to really read it. Don't be concerned. He'll get signed. All draft picks get signed. It's going to happen. this is, well, we're not the Cincinnati Bengals, by the way. They're not. It's like they want their player. The player they don't even want them to sign. Holy smokes, with their first round pick over there, they're a terrible organization. Tate Ratlege will sign. It's not that situation. They'll get it done. Just telling you right now, if you're worried about it, don't be worried about it at all. Zero worries about Tate Ratledge. And just going to go ahead and finish that article right there because I don't know what to say. Now that we've heard this one again, talking about the Chicago Bears are urged to sign Zadarius Smith. They are being urged to sign Zadarius Smith. Urge. I'm sure he's being urged to sign with many teams, okay? He's going to pick who he wants to be with if he has the ability to pick who he wants to be with, like the Detroit Lions. That's his number one goal. If he doesn't sign with the Lions, folks, it's the Lions didn't want him, okay? It's not the other way around. So if he signs the Bears, it's because the Lions weren't bringing him back. I think he is going to come back to Detroit. And to be honest with you, Zadarius Smith is a complement player, right? That's all we've been wanting, is to have a complement player on this team. We don't need to have game change or anything like that. So if he was to go to another team, like, oh, well, for him, we're just looking for a complement. So, but I think Zadarius Smith will be back in Detroit as we get closer to training camp, whatever. Maybe discussions will, the contract discussions will heat up or whatever the situation is. I'm not too concerned about the Zadarius Smith, and if we don't sign him, we don't sign him. They're going all in on this defensive line, but we can't be too worried about it at this point. I just hope it happens. I hope the Lions get it. Thank you for giving you Lions news, not with the greatest graphics in the world, because I'm still dealing with my spine issue. I thought I could sit down by now, but I just can't. It's just I can't sit yet. So I'm taking it day by day, folks. With that said, adios.